I'm going to go fairly quickly. I've got 60 slides in 20 minutes. I'm kidding. Don't worry. Yeah, so I'll try to make this entertaining. First of all, many of you asking the question, why is IBM here? Did you not know that IFA is in Berlin? You made a wrong turn. Actually, no, we knew that EUPVSEC is here. And we came because actually we have a considerable stake and a strong interest in the photovoltaic industry. From a top-level perspective, IBM is a big believer in the smarter vision of a smarter planet. Right, a smarter planet where we make use of the resources we already have, we make better use of the grid, and we take advantage of renewable resources to make life better. Secondly, though, solar has a strong semiconductor industry background. Right, we have a significant business ourselves in serving solar companies and building software and management systems for solar companies. So we have a significant amount of work there. We also do research and collaboration in the solar space. And of course, we put together industry solutions. But what I want to talk today about is mostly around the kind of industry strategy standpoint. And many of you who know a little bit about IBM know that we had our own near-death experience about 15 years ago. And since then, we've spent a lot of time thinking about what is the business model that we can be successful from? And we've made huge amounts of transformation in our own company, and we've looked at other businesses as part of our consulting and thought about how do we help them, how do we help our clients change? Because helping our clients achieve sustainable change is pretty much our core business in the services part of IBM. Now, from a global PV industry perspective, where are we and what can we look forward to? I think, as Henning pointed out, right, we are moving beyond the introductory phases of this industry, right? And we've certainly had a little bit of ups and downs in the past, but we are now moving into a period of substantial and sustainable growth. Now, some of you are saying to yourselves, is this growth? Please give me back the recession, right? But sustainable growth is here, right? Whether it's there's issues, there's a turning point at grid parity. That's not the sole turning point, and there's still a lot of problems to solve. But we're now in a period of substantial and sustainable growth, right? And if we turn back the clock 25 years to 1987, the largest semiconductor company at the time was about $3.5 billion. And we think there's a lot of interesting parallels between the semiconductor industry and the photovoltaic industry. Now, don't get me wrong, similar is not the same as identical. And we know that, right? But we think there's some interesting lessons that we can take away from this industry that we would like to share with you, right? And we see lots of parallels, right, in terms of an initial country that had a dominant position, right, being challenged by new market entrants from other parts of the world. We see parallels in terms of the pricing bloodbath that's occurring. I can use the word bloodbath, right? That's what it is, right? We see lots of challenges around, same challenges around R&D investment, right? There's definitely some significant differences in the kinds of products and portfolio that companies have, although we expect, again, similar to semiconductors, starting at a fairly narrow base of microprocessors and becoming very broad, we see solar having a similar set of things, narrow today, narrow in the past, kind of growing today, growing applications. But some things are different. Industry collaboration is one area where in the semiconductor industry it has been common for a long time and has become much more so. In the solar industry, we remain relatively siloed between players, both by geography and by function. And we think that is something that will probably change quite a bit. So what are the characteristics of a successful PV business model, right? So if we had to guess, we'd say there probably will be three of them. The first is what we call globally integrated, right? As Henning pointed out, this is going to be a global industry. It's not going to be a European industry or an African industry or a Chinese industry. It's going to be a global industry. And successful companies will be globally integrated. And I'll get more into that. Secondly, collaboration will be absolutely critical. Will be absolutely critical to success. The ability to form partnerships, whether it's with other industry players or partners like the grid and the retailers, partnership capability is absolutely critical. And no one should assume that partnerships come naturally. They don't. As IBM has studied it and we've learned a lot, it turns out that if you want to be good at partnering, that's a skill you have to intensively cultivate and develop as part of your business approach. And then lastly, customer-centric. And I've got a picture of happy consumers that are, looks like they've just been shopping. But when I say customer-centric, I don't mean end consumers. I mean your customer, whether it's enterprise or consumer or a utility, right? Be focused on the customer. Let me start with global integration. When we talk about global integration, we really talk about, in IBM, we talk about the evolution of the enterprise. So at the start of IBM's history, companies were international. They were based in one country, and they exported to others. We know that model very well. And we went from being international companies to being multinational companies, right? There was Exxon in the United States, and there was Exxon in the UK, and IBM France, and IBM Germany, and IBM Japan. Whereas they tell us in Japan, they say, no, it's Japan IBM. Right? Truly, these companies were independent. You know, if you look at IBM, we had our own manufacturing plants in Germany. We had our own manufacturing plant in Holland. Every country had a managing director. Right? That is colossally expensive. Right? But IT, like solar and semiconductor, is a global industry. And we think in the case of semiconductor companies, the winners will learn how to aggregate demand and manage supply at a global level. This is not easy, though. Right? In fact, when we think about doing globalization, doing global integration, it's not a simple proposition. Right? Just because I'm in San Francisco and you're in Germany and I need you to do something doesn't mean you're going to understand what I want you to do. Right? Cultural barriers are rife everywhere. And the foundation of successful global integration is having a values-driven enterprise. If we know how we are going to make decisions, if we know how to share our decision-making criteria, then we can delegate and share information around the world. If we don't, all we will have is confusion and back and forth. Right? So within that strategy, we have to agree on a strategy and a values, and then within that, we have to have a way of understanding how we're going to transform our business and run our business. Right? And so, for example, in IBM, when we think about transformation focus areas, we think about enabling growth. Right? That's one piece of the equation. We think about enabling productivity, how we're going to become more productive every year. And then lastly, we think about enabling cultural change. Right? Consolidation is going to be part of the solar industry. Right? At IBM, we've been buying about one company a month for the last few years. Right? So we've started thinking, one company a month, that's a lot. Right? But it makes you think about how you integrate people. We have you could either consider it funny or terrifying term for it. We call it blue washing, right? We make you blue, not miserable, I hope. But when we acquire a company and we integrate them, the first thing we want to do is share our values and business model. And in the solar industry, as companies combine and integrate, they're going to need to think about exactly the same thing. Does it pay off? We think it does. I want to just share with one example around shared services, which is around productivity. But in the past, we had, every country had an HR department and a finance department and whatever, right? And what we did was we rolled them all up globally. There is only one finance department at IBM, and it doesn't matter what country you work in. If you're in finance, you report to our CFO. And the same is true of IT, and the same is true of human resources, right? And within these integrated global departments, we formed these about 10 years ago, and then we said, you are a center of excellence. You must operate globally, and by the way, we are going to cut your budget every single year. So if you're an HR at IBM or IT or any other service, in 2012, you'll get your 10th consecutive annual cost takeout challenge. That's a lot of productivity. And I show you some example from our IT spending, right? Between 2003 and 2010, right, IBM remained about the same size. We sold companies, we acquired companies. We significantly reduced our total IT spend, right? And at the same time as we reduced our IT spend, the difference between the two blocks is what we spend on running the core business, maintaining existing systems, and what we spend on transforming, adding new capability. So we spent less money, but every single year we spent more money on enabling new capability. Right? That's the payoff from global integration, is huge increases in productivity. Right? And we think that's going to be essential. Right? And you can feel free to skip that part if you're sure there won't be much price competition. Second piece is scale, right? Or really collaboration. right? Scale is critical, and whether it's R&D or manufacturing, collaboration is going to be the only way to get there. I pulled out from a semiconductor the cost of a state-of-the-art fab. In 2002, it was about $3 or $4 billion to build a state-of-the-art fab. We're talking in 2012, the next generation of fabs, at about $7 billion, right? Same situation is happening in the photovoltaic industry. To achieve a level of scale that's required, you've got to step up your investment enormously, right? And I just pulled out like who was a production leader year by year, right? In almost every year, it changes who the production leader is. And by the way, the top factory and the top output changes in this business every year. So we believe this is going to continue to happen just as it has in the semiconductor industry, right? And again, if you go back 25 years, 15 of the top 20 companies that existed in 1987 in semiconductor are gone, right? They have merged, combined, and integrated themselves into a single organization, right? By the way, that's going to be really critical, because if what we've seen in semiconductor happens in solar, we will see a same issue where the cost of developing new process technologies and R&D capabilities is going to continue to go up, and it's going to go up faster than revenue, right? Just, something to make you smile. From IBM's perspective, we have to admit, we are not in the top 20. If you go to see the list of top 20 semiconductor companies, you won't see our name, right? And we have had to exit huge parts of the semiconductor industry business because we're not competitive, right? And over the last few years, we've had to think hard about what is our role in this industry, right? We believe that we must be in this industry because our products, our mainframes are powered by our processors, right, that we design and that we build. So we have to be a player, but we cannot match Intel or Samsung when it comes to massive capital investment, right? That's just not our business. So we've decided we have to partner with other companies in order to be successful. So we've created the Common Platform Alliance. And in this Platform Alliance, we bring to the table IBM's biggest strategic asset, which is intellectual property. And then we work with Samsung and Charter to bring scale and capability to the business. So we've had to recognize that without collaboration, we wouldn't still be in this business. But because we have collaboration, we're able to continue to be a player. We can match Intel and others for innovation, and stay at the bleeding edge. We think we'll see some similar types of consortia and integration in the semiconductor and solar industry.